Hello, my happy quilters. Welcome to a fun thing that Joy and I, we've been talking about this for years, haven't we?
We have.
Our very own Marcia and Joy quilt along. And we're going to be focusing on some 6.5 inch or 6-inch finished blocks. And we're going to do 2 of them every 2 weeks. And we're going to get started right now.
So if you want to join us in this sew along, we have curated a pack of fat quarters by Riley Blake and some backgrounds. And as a fun little get extra perk, we've added in a small design board for you to use. You don't have to use these fabrics, but we are using these as our focus fabrics. And as Marcia will tell you,
these are Lori Holt fabrics from My Bonnet collection. So those are the fabrics that we're choosing to use for this quilt along. We're going to show you some other things as we go along too, but these are the fabrics we're using for the particular quilt. At the very end, Joy has a great finishing option for you too, or you can use these however you want. You can buy our kit. You can use whatever fabrics you want, but we're going to have a fun time.
But there was plenty in there. So if you don't want to work with a 6.5 inch finished block, you could go larger.
Well, we're talking about this book. So you kind of need this book to do the quilt along with us. This is a great book. It's the quick and easy block tool. We've been using this. There's several different ones.
Right.
We've been using this for years. And I'm going to show you, Mason, if you will put it down here, we can take a quick look at this book. I'm going to move this over. And as you can see, it's spiral bound, so it lays flat. But each one of these blocks, like there's 110 in here or something like that. We've got color pictures in the front, little bitty thumbnails of them. But then it also talks about the different grids, a 2 grid, a 3 grid, or a 4 grid, meaning how many things that go across. But what we love about this book is that you always have 5 different sizes of blocks that you can make from this, and it tells you what to cut, and then down at the bottom it kind of shows you what they look like all together. So this one book will show you a lot of things, and I'm going to show you this next. Then these are 5 different block sizes that we made out of, I don't know if it's this particular book or one of the other books, but you can make all 5 sizes. You choose what you want to do.
And they just get bigger, don't they,
Wow,
Marcia?
yes.
Oops, I better not lose any of your
So there
pieces.
you go. So this is from this small, if you like the teeny weenies, or you want to make a quilt with big blocks. There is so many, how many is it? 110 different quilt blocks in 5 different sizes in this particular book. And then Mason, if you'll take it back up on top. Then when you want to put them together, these are these blocks in very similar fabrics, and then you just need to put some sashings or whatever you want to do. And then of course, if you wanted a quilt, you would just keep going down, or you set them together however you'd like to.
And so how our sew along is going to go is Marcia is going to focus on the traditional piecing techniques, and then I'm going to help you learn how to do quilters math, so to speak. It's not really math, but quilters magic, and use specialty rulers to create these blocks in a different way, using kind of a shortcut technique. However, because you need the book, we're not going to specify every single size cut for this. We are going to focus on our favorite sewing techniques throughout our sew along. We hope you join us, but you need the book for the exact measurements so that you are able to cut your blocks.
And we're doing, out of the 110 blocks in here, we're just going to do 12.
Right.
So this is a plethora of information for you. This is, if I could have just one,
I know.
it would probably be this.
And you do have that one, and so do I.
I do. And I go to it, I use it real often. So it does have traditional cutting methods, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, should we talk about your tools and then we go into the blocks?
So we have some favorite tools as well. First of all, you need a nice sharp cutter. We are a big fan of these More rotary cutters. They have ball bearings in them, so if you have strength issues, or even if you just want a nice easy glide cutting, this is the tool for you. because of the ball bearing mechanism in here, it cuts smoothly and cleanly. Beautiful Japanese sharp blade in there.
Cuts like butter.
Cuts like butter. Then Marcia and I are huge fans of a stiletto, and I happen to favor the by Annie one, and I'll talk about that as we get into that. A marking tool, and this one is kind of neat. It has two colors of pencil lead in here. White, it's not really pencil lead, it's a ceramic. There's white and dark, and then there's a tracing piece in here, and I'll show you how to use that. Good quality thread. We love Aurifil. It's a 50 weight thread. Makes nice crisp seams. Sharp fresh needle. My favorite is either the quilting needle, which I have here, and I have a size 90. It has a nice sharp point to go through all those seams cleanly. And then we have some rulers. Okay, so Marcia's going to be doing traditional, so all she needs is some sort of rectangular cutting ruler.
Big, little, whatever we need.
And honestly, for this size block, you could use a half-sized one, but we brought out the big boy today. And then for my portion, you need a half square triangle ruler and a quarter square triangle ruler to make most of these blocks. And it's a good idea to have matching tools, whether, whatever brand they are. But the Creative Grids, we have the quarter square triangle, comes in this size. And then we have the 4-in-1 tool, which is a half square triangle ruler. Or if you wished, K England has a beautiful package of both of those triangles in one set, along with a couple of other triangles that are commonly used in quilting. Sky's the limit. But I will be featuring these two rulers in my demonstration. I think that's our
half square
equivalent.
triangle rulers and quarter square triangle rulers, or whatever. You can, sky's the limit. You can make so many things.
Sky's the limit. And I'm going to show you how to take any of the patterns in here and translate them into half square triangle rulers and quarter square triangle rulers. So without further ado, should we expose our first block? Are we going to show it up first?
Absolutely. Let's
So our first block, I have Grandmother's Choice. We each have one. I put mine on a big board so I had somewhere to put the stuff, but you can see it
this
fits
is what they're going to get, yeah.
in your thing. And this is, Grandmother's Choice. It is block number 41 in our book. So we're going to go ahead and get that book opened up. And Marcia's going to start with her traditional piecing techniques.
Okay, so this is really a simple block to start with. And they're going to have you, traditional cutting, of course, we always cut squares and then we cut them. So Mason, if you want to come back down here.
And I forgot, there's one more lovely tool that we sometimes use.
Okay, we'll talk about that
when I get there.
Okay.
Okay.
So when we start on these blocks, of course, in traditional piecing, it is cutting the squares and then cutting them on the diagonal. Cutting the square, so for this guy here, we're going to need a big one, and cut it on diagonal. For one block, you're only going to need one of these, so you're going to have this one extra in case you want to make something else. And then one of these to make these. And then the square. I guess I don't know why I cut two of them, but then the square that goes in here. And then I'm not going to talk any more about how to sew these together because Joy is going to cover all that. Whether you cut them, going back on top. Whether you cut them traditionally or you cut them with rulers, they all sew together the same.
Right, and inside the book, there's going to be a column for each size that you choose, and it will give you those dimensions for cutting. But this is what you need to know for half square triangles. This first one has your square, and it has your half square triangle. And whenever your pattern says, take a square and draw a line and do a 1/4 inch on either side, it usually has a and 7/8 attached to it. So for the magic math you need, if it says, now this is not related to this block, this is a general thing. It says take a 5 7/8 inch square and cut it in half. What you need to cut for a strip to use your half square triangle ruler is less 3/8. So that makes it a 5.5 inch strip to get the same triangle that Marcia's going to sew. So for when I go about doing this, I have my two strips. I've subtracted that 3/8 from the measurement that the book calls for. And Marcia and I often will stack our fabrics. We'll put our dark one on the bottom. We'll put our light one on the top. And we'll maybe have to go down in close here. And Marcia, would you do me the honor of just trimming off that, squaring up that end? Let me get my ruler. She's going to trim that off.
Now at home, I would just trim off the salvage edge. I got a little generous.
You got a little generous. Yep. Okay, but then to do my half square triangles, I'm going to use my 4-in-1 tool. I'm going to bring it a little closer to me so I can reach. On this ruler, there is a black tip, and it's going to sit off the top of your strip, and you're going to line up the edge. Now, we're going into great detail on this one so you get off to the right start, but the size strip will be indicated along the bottom. Again, that information is in your book. I'm going to just line up my ruler, and I'm going to go ahead and cut a set of, and because I'm off center a little bit,
and
I'm
you're
not
sitting cockeyed there.
I promise you I put a fresh blade in here, but we're going to cut a set of half square triangles, and because I put them together to start with, they kind of press themselves together. Now that's one half square triangle. We actually only need
we don't need to.
We don't need the.
But this is a good lesson for some of the later ones because we're not going to go through all these cuttings every time.
We're not. So that would be if I need a light and a dark together.
Right sides together, but you cut them and then you could take these right to your sewing machine. Here's your 1/4 inch. You go just right straight down, and then they're all done and ready to go. No stacking.
No stacking.
But
okay,
it's
but
not
for this
one.
block,
Yes. We only need one.
Oh, I need 2 half square triangles.
2 of these.
So here's the deal. We cut the first one this way, and then I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put the black tip at the bottom this time and line up the angle at the side.
Press hard.
Well, I don't usually have to press hard, but I am a little crooked. But I need the 2 half square triangles, and this is going to give me the same result, and you can go up big again, Mason. It's going to give me the same result as Marcia, but I didn't have to cut and trim and draw lines.
Same result as this. Whoops, I'll hold this up. Same result as this square, and then cutting on the diagonal.
And then may I borrow your square?
You may have that one because I don't need it.
So when we put these together, we are making a half of a triangle, and we are going to sew the triangles on the. I need to go down low. Sorry, I was hoping to not do so much bouncing back and forth.
Yep.
Thank you for verifying because nope, wrong way.
I go this way, right here.
So we are going to sew this unit together. It doesn't matter which one you start with, but you flip it over and you're going to line that up, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam right along here. Now, typically Marcia and I don't press our blocks with the iron until we're all done. We use a tool or our fingernail to do a finger crease to press that open. Once this is done, you'll add this piece on top, and this of course is sewn, and you would sew across and press this section open. And then lastly, can I have your big triangle, Marcia?
Sure.
We are going to sew this unit, so it should line up very nicely. You'll sew across here and open it up, and after you have that last one on,
you would press. Cut this also with this ruler?
I would also cut that with this ruler. So let's go big again, Mason. So remember to use, these are all half square triangles. There's a different rule for 1/4 square triangles, but you subtract 3/8, and usually that leaves you with a number and a half. That's the size strip you're going to cut to utilize this ruler. And yes, this is big enough to cut that size triangle. So that is our first block put together, grandmother's choice. And then Marcia did a bonus project. Oh wait, that's for the next one.
No, that is for this one.
Okay.
So I did a bonus project, so I made the 10-inch block. And I made 4 of them and put them together.
And isn't that just a sweet little table topper? You could just...
Yes. These Lori Holt fabrics remind me of days gone by.
Right.
When you had to make do. I can remember growing up at home and cutting buttons off shirts, and then my mom would use probably the backs of them to use for things like this. So these are some of the fabrics that are in your kit, but the sky's the limit. You can do anything you want. So every 2 blocks, I'll show you some project that's done putting some blocks together as well.
And you can choose any color combination. You don't need to choose ours. We just picked from our imagination. So that is number 41 in your book. And
that is block 1.
That is block 1. Easy peasy. Doesn't take long to sew that one.
No.
And then our next block that we are going to have is bow tie. This is a classic block. And it is block number 17 in your book. And Marcia's got hers. And she's got a very fun interpretation of hers. And it's the same sewing, just a different look. I did matching to give the classic bow tie. She's got a cute little corner.
Yep, mine's a little different.
You have the double bow tie.
And kind of
again, what you have
prints
in your sewing room.
Yes, absolutely. This was made out of my scraps.
Now, this technique uses one that's very common called stitch and flip. And Marcia's got a great technique for the stitch and flip. And again, you're going to look at your 6-inch column and you're going to cut traditionally for her bits.
So this one was just cutting squares. We're going to go down here, Mason. Thank you so much. This one is just cutting squares. So here are the squares that we need. And of course I didn't have any more of this, so I used this, and I used a little bigger example. But what you do then is you put right sides together, you put this square on these edges, and then you stitch right down here. Me, I like to press it or finger press it, so I kind of know. You can draw a line. You can use a tool that she's going to show you later. I'm not going to show that, but that's how I do it. So this is a little bit different than a lot of people do. This is what I like to do, is I sew it on the line. So I have it all lined up here, and you can see I sewed down the line. And then what I do is I just cut out this middle part at 1/4 inch, and then I fold this back, and I leave this backing part on because we know that this square is true, and that way if this gets a little bit wonky,
you still have
which
a
it
perfect
sometimes
square.
can, you still have a perfect square. Absolutely. So traditional cutting, a bunch of squares, doing a couple of these, and then sewing them together.
Right. Okay, so let's go big again. All right, so 2 tools that I'm going to highlight for you is Marcia mentioned the line. There is this sweet little line, and this is useful for any time it says draw a line corner to corner. I'll show you how to use it. And then you can also draw the 1/4 inch seam lines if you wish, or just sew them. So this would line up with your 2 pieces, and if you want a nice slot, you can just take your mechanical pencil or your nice marking tool and draw through that line to do that diagonal bit. However, I didn't need the specialty 1/4 square triangle rulers, but I did utilize Doug Lico's simple folded corner ruler for mine, because as Marcia said, she draws her line and she leaves her fabric in, which gives you a perfect square every time.
Oh, this does too.
This does too.
Yep.
So can we have a closer look here? So to use this tool, and actually well, this is kind of dark on here. Well, I have a square.
Okay.
So anytime it tells you to layer a square in the corner to do this stitch and flip, you're going to line it up like that. Then this beautiful ruler has all these grid marks on it, and what I did is I lined the flat edge at the top, and I can see that my diagonal is in my corners, and I'm going to keep turning my ruler till this is nice and square. This is the line you would typically draw, but what makes this ruler very accurate and fast is that I can cut that off, and I'm going to take this to my machine, and now I'm going to sew this as a 1/4 inch seam, and I don't have to go back and do any squaring up
or
cutting off because I've already sewn. And when you use a rotary cutter to cut this line, this is always going to be accurate because you don't have a thickness of a pen or a pencil to try to figure out, do I sew on this side or that side or down the middle. It always comes out just right. So that is used
and
to
there's
make...
great inside this ruler, if you choose to purchase this, there's great instructions from Doug as well.
There are. And so then when we put them together, it's just a 4-patch. You just sew this unit to this one to that one, and then you fold it over and you sew the 2 together, and you are done. All right, let's have an up front. So these are some of our favorite tools. Any last minute parting tips?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can choose to participate. Now, the kit, if you do the kit, you have enough fabric in there probably to make any size block you want. We're focusing on the 6-inch.
Right.
But you probably have enough to make all the way up to the 12-inch block if you choose.
And our finishing idea will be for a 6-inch block.
It will. Our finishing idea will be for, and I won't give any more of that away. However, if you do maybe run out of, if you decide you want to do a 12-inch block, you might run out of lights. I think you might have a couple pieces at home that you could use for one block. Absolutely. So it's very scrappy quilt, very lots of fun. So we're going to do 2 blocks every 2 weeks. So we look forward to seeing you back here at Pine Needles Quilt and Sew in Rochester, Minnesota in 2 weeks. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy quilting.